stay here and keep an eye on those guys until further notice.
Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell Double Agent is the fourth Splinter Cell game in as many years, and the first time that this series has appeared on a new platform like the Xbox 360. This latest Splinter Cell game has a lot in common with Chaos Theory in particular, which is last year's Splinter Cell. There are a lot of new changes for the better in the game's innovative multiplayer mode, but as for the single-player portion of Splinter Cell Double Agent, it's a lot like what you've probably come to expect if you've played the other games in the series. While Sam Fisher has always been a great character, basically his adventures have boiled down to taking out kind of one no-name terrorist group after another, and it turns out that Double Agent is pretty similar in that regard. There's a very interesting plot point at first, which basically causes Fisher to kind of lose it and actually get locked up in jail. Unfortunately, you don't really see a lot of this yourself, you just find out about it. Next thing you know, Fisher's in jail, and it turns out that the NSA has also tried to get him to get in the good graces of a new terrorist group called John Brown's Army. So he's got to help one of the JBA members get out of the slam, and then after that, he becomes one of their ranks. And he's got to work both for the JBA as well as for the NSA, and balance mission objectives between the two during the course of the game's campaign. Occasionally, Fisher's double agent status manifests itself into some sort of moral dilemma, where he's either got to prove himself to the JBA or do the right thing and kind of not kill somebody who doesn't deserve to die, something like that. These moments are really interesting, but you could also count them on one hand. They're pretty few and far between.
Excuse me?
Sam, save him!
What happened?
Mission's dead.
Get your ass back here, Fisher. We're heading back to headquarters.
Oh my God, Sam. What have you done?
The game's new trust system basically just forces you to stay out of enemies' sight, the same as you normally do in a Splinter Cell game. At the game's normal difficulty setting, though, it's not hard to stay within the good graces of these two organizations, but should you run out of trust, it's game over. There's a lot of cool new stuff and new environments for Fisher to play around in. Some of the missions take place behind enemy lines right there in the JBA's headquarters, and these are interesting in that you'll get to kind of mosey along and become one of this terrorist group. As for the main missions, one of the surprises is that many of them don't in fact take place at night. One of the early ones takes place on a big Russian supertanker in the middle of a snowstorm, and then you've also got one that takes place in the sweltering heat of Africa. So these are anything but your ordinary kind of nighttime Sam Fisher operation, and some of them are really impressive in terms of their scope. Once you're done with that, there's the game's multiplayer mode to play, and it's like a whole separate game as before. In fact, it's also much different than before, specifically in that it's a 6-player game now, so you've got 3 people on the spy team and 3 people on the mercenary team, and they all have at it. What's great about the spies is that they're really nothing like Sam Fisher anymore. They move much, much faster, and they've got a variety of moves that even Fisher doesn't have. They've also got this crazy new gadget, kind of this wrist strap that lets them download files, which is key to their success, and they can also use this to disrupt the mercenaries' electronics and weapons. As the spies, the object is to get in, download files from multicolored terminals, and then get back to your extraction point without getting killed. As the mercenaries, your job is to kill the spies. When Splinter Cell first came out on the Xbox, it was easily one of the most impressive-looking games on that system. So with that in mind, it's also easy to go into Double Agent expecting to be totally floored by how good this game looks. In reality, it's a great-looking game, but not necessarily the best-looking thing available on the Xbox 360. It does recycle a lot of the animations and graphics from previous Splinter Cell games, but a lot more detail's gone into Sam Fisher's character model, and some of the environments, especially the Africa level, just look really, really good. It's kind of surprising that Splinter Cell is evolving faster on the multiplayer side than it is on the single-player side. In Double Agent, Sam Fisher gets a whole new episode in his increasingly illustrious career, but it's really similar to what you've experienced from him in the past. At the same time, there are some cool new twists, and the game does look fantastic, so you can look forward to a rousing adventure that culminates in a very dramatic conclusion that, at the same time, of course, leaves the book wide open for more. Meanwhile, the multiplayer portion of the game has a lot of interesting new changes that make it easier to get into and just more fun to play and more action-packed overall. And so, provided that you go into this latest Splinter Cell installment looking for the complete experience, not just gravitating only to the single-player portion, because there's that really, really cool multiplayer portion on top of it, you're going to find a lot of impressive stuff in here.